Welcome to part one of a two-part series on the Power Women of the Trades podcast.
Hi, I'm Kelly Rowlett-Presgrave. I'm president and CEO of Work With Your Hands, and we are so proud to be a sponsor of Power Women of the Trades podcast. You can reach us at workwithyourhands.com. Kelly at workwithyourhands.com is my email.
At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines, regardless of gender, and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Well, hey, Valerie, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. I got your bio and was just like reading all about you. And I'm really intrigued on hearing your story of like how you got into the trades. But one thing that stuck out to me is you were a teacher for 17 years.
Yes. Hi, Cassie. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Yes, I was a teacher for about 17 years. I went to college and I studied mathematics when I was in college, and I got a BA in mathematics because that was my favorite subject in high school, and I excelled in it. So I thought, well, let me start a career in it, and what could I do? So I decided that I wanted to teach, and I did for approximately 17 years. And I had an excellent career. I had a great rapport with my administration, my students, my team members. It was great. I really had a pretty awesome life.
Well, so what grade were you teaching?
I was teaching 8th grade math. And for a short time after my first maternity leave, I came back and I taught 7th grade math for a while as well.
So that immediately makes me think that from math to plumbing, that there's several things that could have helped with, but also teaching 8th grade, like there's not a lot of different. Like I think about the locker room smell and the things like that. And then like coming into plumbing, everyone's always like, you own a plumbing company? And I'm like, yeah. And it's exactly what you think. Like it's stinky and smelly, and you were just already equipped for all that from the 8th graders, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, 8th graders, they're 13, 14 years old. So you're dealing with, all types of personalities and all types of relationship and social issues. And there's a lot going on in the 8th grade world. But I will tell you this, the locker room doesn't stink because in 8th grade, they all use perfume, deodorants, and sprays. So that's a good thing, I guess, to compare to what you were saying. But yeah, managing, 8th grade students in a classroom day to day is quite a job. But I was in a small school district, so it was very nice. I had about maybe 100 to 120 students each year. So in a smaller district, we had one teacher per subject matter. So I was the 8th grade math teacher, and my best was the 8th grade ELA teacher, etc. So that was really.
And let me confirm or like go back and say, I'm not saying plumbers or 8th graders. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like specifically thinking about, I don't know. I have 5 boys. We have 6 kids, 5 boys. And so 8th grade is like that. I can just smell it. Maybe it was mine. They do use a lot of cologne though. I know what you're talking about on that. So, so you did that for 17 years. And then how did you get to here? How Jersey Boys Plumbing? How are we here?
Well, it's a story. So my husband had been plumbing on his own since 2005, comes from a family of plumbers. 2 of his uncles are master plumbers and excellent at their trade. And so he learned under them, which was great. And he went out on his own after working for both of them for a short period of time. time around 2005. And we met about 2 years later in 2007. My father actually introduced us. My father was in the trades as well. So I grew up in a trades family. Yeah. So my father introduced me to my husband and we married in 2010. And at the time I was teaching. I had been teaching already for about 6 years at that time when we got married. And he was running a business by himself. And while he was running the business, he may have had 1 to 2 employees that worked for him at the time. And he was still in the truck. And, you know, we were busy. We were busy starting a family and working and all that type of stuff. And then in 2021, my husband started, well, probably around 2020, my husband started searching for more. He knew that the business couldn't stay or remain in the place that it was without growing. And he was seeking more. So he sought out for some coaching advice. And through that advice, he determined that the best way to grow the business was to allow his wife, not allow, but to invite me or ask me. That was not the good choice of words, but to invite me or ask me if I wanted to join the business with him and help the business grow. So he had come to me in 2021, early spring, and he said, Val, he said, I have to ask you something. I said, yes. He said, you know, I really want our business to be a legacy for our kids. I really want to accomplish something great here. I've been doing it all my life and I don't want it to just end. I want there to be something left. I want our kids to be proud of us. I want to grow the business. So that's great. Because at the time I had zero involvement. My only involvement was when the phone rang and he was taking calls or he was running in the truck late night and those types of things. That was the most involvement I had in the business. And he said, well, I can't do it without you. You're the only one I trust. I love you. And I think together we could really turn this into something great. I just was like, oh my God, I don't know. I never owned a business. He's been an entrepreneur pretty much his whole life. You know, I've always worked for someone. You know, I had career goals. That was my career. Prior to that, I had small jobs here and there, working my way to college. So I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. So it took me, Cassie, maybe about, I don't know, 10 minutes. And I said, yes, I'll do it.
You're like, let me process what that means.
Exactly.
Because I don't think you really know until I go back to that time in my life with Oscar. Just a little about me. He has been in the trade for 30 years. And at that time it was like 15, you know, and I was working, doing HR somewhere else. And I had a retail background and he's like, hey, I'm going to go out on my own. And we're like freshly married. We've been married like 30 minutes, basically. I mean, I think like 5 months. We had been married, maybe. No, we were married a year. Anyways, I have, you know, when you get a fact and you're like, wait, no, I was wrong. Anyways, so the plan was he was going to go out on his own. And then maybe in a year or so, I would be able to jump in and help or whatever. And then within like 30 days, I was quitting my job. And then when he was talking to me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think I can do that. And I think I can do this, but you really have no freaking clue what we're signing up for, you know?
I agree. You have no idea. And I really didn't have, prior to him asking me, I didn't have any interest because I didn't know it was a possibility for me. I didn't know it was a possibility for me to leave my job and join him to grow a business that I knew really nothing about. So you don't know what you're getting into. And so for me saying yes, it was a leap of faith, but I wholeheartedly trust him. And he has made some really smart and great decisions throughout his life, financially and with business and with family and relationships. And so I trusted him. So I said yes, because, you know, I didn't think he was going to steer me in the wrong direction, which he did not. But you don't know
you don't know. And then, like I said, you know, people all the time, I was talking to someone the other day and he's like, can you give me some advice for the business? And I'm like, you need to hit me on the right day for me to give advice, because it just, you know, the day to day, you know how it goes. Like today's a great day and business ownership is amazing. And then tomorrow might be like, why are we doing this? You know? And so he had kind of hit me on one of those days that I'm like, why are we doing this? And then he's asking all these questions and I'm like, yes, this is hard. You know, like there's not an easy button. Everyone wants that easy button and there's just not one. It's hard. It's hard stuff. And so when you jump in and you don't know, and then you especially, so how long was Jersey Boys around specifically before you came on?
Most businesses' online presence is boring. And by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Hard Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. we can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
So prior to rebranding as Jersey Boys Plumbing, my husband's business was Ryan Plumbing and Drains from 2005. So he had been in the business for a while as Ryan Plumbing and Drain. And then when I came on in June of 2021, that fall is when we rebranded, and we rebranded as Jersey Boys Plumbing.
I love it.
Jersey Boys has been in existence since 2021.
Awesome. So I read on your bio that you guys had, when you came on, you were just running one truck.
Yes.
And then now you guys
we're at 8 trucks now.
So what have you done in the last 2 years well, actually, let me back up. What is your role now in the company?
So currently my role in the company is, I'm the chief operating officer. I mean, essentially I have several roles in the company, right? Because we're
always
still
a trick question.
It almost is a trick question because we're still at that size where, my husband and I both take on so many roles throughout the day, and day to day, the roles could change as well until we get to the next level. And then we start to put in people into those positions where I can pull myself out of those specific roles. So my role right now is pretty much the daily operations, the day-to-day processes that are happening, building them, implementing them, training on them, anything that has to do with accounting. I'm involved with dispatching. I'm involved with managing the techs. I'm involved with pretty much everything that you could possibly think of that goes into running a business. That's my role day to day. So some days I may only fill 3 of those roles, and some days by the end of the day, I filled 10 of those roles. And there are those days where you say, why are we doing this?
100%. And then everyone, when people ask me, so Cassie, what's your day to day? Like, what is your role at Quality? And I'm like, the managers, I manage the marketing. I'm paying attention to, it's all the levers, right? Like we're constantly moving the levers to go in the different directions.
Absolutely. And Cassie, I thought, when I was teaching for all those years, when you're in that position, I was very dedicated, and I would spend my evenings, like after dinner was done, kitchen was cleaned up, kids were bathed, everybody was tucked in, and the house was quiet. I would sit at the kitchen table and I would work on my lesson plans, and I would work on building them and making them great. And I did that for all 17 years. I never got comfortable and never said, oh, this is great, I'm going to keep doing the same thing every year. No, I would always be learning and growing. And I thought, wow, this is a lot of work, but I wanted to be good. I wanted to be good in the classroom, and I wanted to excel, and I wanted to be successful, and I wanted my students to be successful. So I knew I had to do it. And at the time, it was really hard. It was a lot of work. However, this is totally different. It is way harder. It is way more work. It's something that never leaves because now it's my business and I own it. And so when you have ownership of something, it never leaves. So it's not like I can come home and just shut it off. We're constantly working, even while we're eating dinner, even while we're driving the kids to softball in the car. Every conversation is usually around the business, and so that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, it is. And I always think about as you've been in the space for 2 years now, and you're going to get asked this question 900 or 3 years. Yeah. I don't even know the years anymore. You are going to get asked this question 972 million times for the rest of your life. It's how do you do it every day working with your husband? And I'm like, well, I love him, but it is 24/7, and then you can't shut it off. And then the truth is, and this is what I know, people who have to you have to find out what works for you, and there has to be boundaries, right? Yeah. But I know several people that are like, we have a rule that after 5 o'clock, we don't talk about it. And I'm like, that would never work in our house.
Right.
That would never work in our house. A couple of reasons why. Number one is like when I get off at 5, if I would got off, or do we get off at 5? No. Anyways, but when I got off at another company right at 5 or we got off and we came home for the day, we debriefed, we downloaded what happened at work today with our spouse, right? And I'm doing a different job every day than Oscar is. And so when we get home, just because we're in the same building all day long doesn't necessarily mean that we know what each other did all day, and we want to communicate. We want to do that. And so for us, if we just said, don't talk about it, that would be a problem. But you're right. You're driving in the car and you're like, this is happening or that's happening. Or, and like Oscar is an amazing troubleshooter. And even though he has multiple managers under him, a lot of our guys still trust him mostly, and so they'll call, let me give my managers credit. I'm sorry, guys. When I say things sometimes and I'm like, if they're listening, they're going to be like, really? Oscar's been their guy forever. Right. And so they'll still call him sometimes and he'll be troubleshooting and we're in the car are, I don't think that's ever going to change. And I think if we did, our company culture would change because we're not as reliable as we say we are, right?
Right. I agree. I mean, it's the commitment to your business, right? That's what it sounds like to me that you're explaining to me,
Yeah.
that your husband and you are committed to your business and to your people, right? And so, yeah, that shouldn't change at all. And I agree with you. You know, that is the one question that I get asked a lot. It's like, especially in small circle groups at, you know, the kids' sporting events and stuff like that, with people who are mainly acquaintances and other moms, and like, how do you work with your husband all day? I can never do that. And I think to myself, it's great. I love it, you know, and I don't know if this is going to sound any kind of way, but my husband is my best friend and we have a great relationship and we get along really good. And so when I explain that sometimes to people, they're like, oh yeah, right. I couldn't stand him for more than 10 minutes. I'm thinking, no, it's great. It's a great level of comfort and security to be, like you said, in the same building every day and working together, but you're working together on one goal, right? So that's what's awesome. Like you're both working towards your goal in life and you're doing it together. So that's great. So I love working with my husband. And like you said, we could never shut it off at like 5 o'clock. That just wouldn't happen for us because that's not how our relationship is and how we talk to each other and with each other.
Right.
But there are times where we could be talking about it and we both just look at each other and we're like, yeah, that's it for right now, because we're moving on to the next thing, or we're going out to meet friends, or we're taking the kids somewhere and we're just exhausted by it. And so we know when to drop it. And
sometimes you just have to shut it down, you know, and for us, what works for us, and that's exactly what I always say, is what works for us it may not work for you. It might. Oscar's my best friend too. Like we spend a lot of time, we want to talk to each other and we want to do it. But then sometimes we're just like, I don't know, we'll deal with that crap later, you know? Or one of our kids is a service tech for us and he'll come home sometimes. And we try to be super supportive of him. And he'll be like wanting to tell us about a service call. And I'm like, is it really, do we have to talk about this right now?
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
But because it's like, I did this all day today, you know, with all of the service techs and all I downloaded. And so then now that's a different level, you know, when you have a kid working for you, because you want to support them the way that you support the rest of your team. And so like, he kind of gets the short end of the stick sometimes because I'm like, okay, love you, bye, you know, but as an employee, would I do that to every employee? No, I'd listen to them. But sometimes I'm like, bro, do we have to talk about this right now? Like, it's a lot.
I feel you. It is a lot. And I feel sometimes when my husband's name is Bob, when Bobby's talking to me about work, I tend to do that too. Like in my mind, I'm saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Because I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it, but I'm still processing it. And I let it sit there. And then I know when I'm ready, I'll bring it back up. And he'll say, are you listening to me? And I go, I am listening to you. I just don't feel like talking about it right now.
It's like, it's fine. You know, every once in a while we'll be like, is this going to get solved tonight? No. So we'll just figure it out tomorrow. Exactly. But you know, like, I just still like one of those things that you go back to of it's just not easy. I don't ever want to discourage anyone, right? I don't want anyone to think that the work that we're doing is not possible, because it is, right? We're doing it, all of us, but it's exhausting. You know, what's that saying? Is like, I wanted to work less and make my own schedule. So I created my own business and now I work 24/7. And it's like, that's what we do. And you are grinding all the time and doing things, you know, different things all the time.
Right. Absolutely. And once I started in the business with Bobby, my mindset really started to change and I became very forward thinking, whereas before when I was teaching, I wasn't, because I felt like that was my career. And I just assumed that I would retire there, you know, in 25 years and put my time in and that type of thing. And so I really didn't think about the future and that type of thing. And then once I was in the business with him, I started to follow different people on social media. I started to read different things that were forward thinking, that, you know, point you in the direction of what you need to do to be a successful entrepreneur, because I didn't really know. I only had watched my husband, but I needed to know for myself, right? So once I start listening to these people and watching these people, there is no simple solution. There is no quick answer. You have to put the work in, but it is fulfilling. It is rewarding. And I know what our goal is. And I know that the only way to accomplish it is to put this hard work in and to be dedicated. But I didn't know that that's what it took prior. But once your mindset sort of shifts like that, and you start to let these different people in and you start to listen to how they talk and what they're telling you, yes, you have to work every day. Yes, it is 24/7. You can't just say, I'm going to own my own business and show up when you want to show up. Can't do that. You know what I mean? Yes, you have freedoms, and I do have more freedoms than I did when I was teaching. However, that comes with a price as well, right? Because I have to
put more burden now too.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. And another thing about it is that it's hard to explain it or to have someone understand that's not in the same position. So it's really great once you enter into this world to have friends that are in the same world as you. Because I felt once I started making these friends that were in the business, trades business like myself, I had a support system that I didn't have prior to that. And so that's a great thing.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.